My name is Alara Hayes, and in 2018, New Orleans was my whole world. If you've never been here during music festival season, it's impossible to describe. The air feels thick with brass horns, fried beignets, and sweat. Every street corner has a rhythm, every bar a beat. And for me, those rhythms weren't just background noise, they were my lifeline. Music wasn't just what I did, it was who I was. At 34, I wasn't chasing stardom like a teenager anymore. I wanted respect. I wanted to build something real, lyrics that meant something, melodies that carried weight. And for a while, I thought I was building that future with someone I trusted. His name was Dylan Cross, my boyfriend, my bandmate, my partner in every sense. We met in a dive bar off Frenchman Street, both broke and playing to empty tables. He played guitar, I wrote lyrics. Together, we filled the silence. He used to look at me like I was the missing half of his chord. We built our band, the Crescent Souls. We wrote in my apartment, late nights with cheap whiskey and broken strings. Dylan would strum until his fingers bled, and I would scribble words onto coffee-stained notebooks. And God, I loved him, not just as a man, but as an artist, as the only person who seemed to get it. The hunger, the grind, the ache of wanting your voice heard, which is why his betrayal cut me deeper than I thought possible. It started small. He got secretive about studio time, late-night calls with people I didn't know, excuses that didn't make sense. Just talking to promoters, he'd say, smiling that same crooked smile that always disarmed me. But then one morning, scrolling through Spotify, I saw it. A brand new album, Crossroads, by Dylan Cross. And as I pressed play, my world collapsed. The first track opened with words I knew better than my own reflection, my lyrics, my stories, carved out of heartbreak and hope. Song after song, each line I had written late at night, each verse I had bled for was there. But my name wasn't. No credit, no mention, just Dylan. My chest hollowed out. Rage and grief collided inside me, so hard I thought I'd shatter. It wasn't just theft, it was identity murder. I stumbled to the bathroom mirror, gripping the sink, staring at myself. Was I nothing but a ghostwriter in my own life? I whispered. The walls seemed to close in. My trust, my love, my art. It was all gone, stolen by the one person I had trusted with every piece of me. And then my phone buzzed. A notification. Dylan had just gone live on Instagram. I clicked, hands trembling. There he was, grinning, guitar in hand, thanking fans for his lyrics, his stories, his truth. The comments poured in. Genius, raw, a poet. And with every word, my heart cracked wider. I wanted to scream, to rip the screen apart, but instead I just stood there, paralyzed, until something inside me shifted. This wasn't the end. It couldn't be. If Dylan thought he could steal my voice and bury me with it, he was about to find out what happens when the songwriter fights back. The morning after Dylan's live stream, I woke up to a city that suddenly felt louder, harsher, crueler. Every passing car horn sounded like mockery. Every street musician on Bourbon Street felt like a reminder of what I'd lost. I stayed in bed until noon, staring at the ceiling, replaying his words in my head. My lyrics, my stories, my truth. No, they were mine. And yet, the world was already starting to believe him. By the afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I dragged myself to the record shop off Magazine Street, the one with peeling posters on the windows. The clerk, a kid barely out of high school, had Dylan's face plastered across the new releases wall. I stood there, frozen, staring at the cover art. Him, smirking with his guitar, like the hero of a story he'd stolen. People passed by me, picking up his album, talking about how raw his words were. I wanted to scream, "That's my pain. Those are my scars you're buying." Instead, I walked out. My hands shook as I lit a cigarette I didn't even want. By the third drag, I realized something. He had stolen my voice. But maybe, just maybe, I still had one thing he couldn't steal. The truth. Later that night, I pulled out my old lyric notebooks. Pages crumpled, coffee-stained, some smudged with tears. I traced the lines with my fingers like old scars. And then I opened TikTok. At first, it felt ridiculous. I was too old for this platform, wasn't I? 34, not 19. What business did I have competing with glitter-drenched teenagers dancing in their bedrooms? But then I scrolled, and I saw creators using songs and snippets, reshaping them, turning them viral. Not because they were polished, but because they were real, raw, honest. Exactly what Dylan had stolen from me. My pulse quickened. I whispered to myself, if he used my words to build his empire, maybe I can use the same words to tear it down. The idea was reckless, maybe impossible, but it was a spark, the first step of revenge. I picked up my phone, set it on the counter, hit record. My hands trembled as I spoke directly to the camera. My name's Alara Hayes, and before Dylan Cross put out his album, these words were mine. I strummed my guitar, messy, unpolished, raw, and then I sang. The same lyrics he'd stolen, but this time sung by the woman who had written them. When I finished, my heart raced. I didn't know if anyone would watch, but deep down I knew this was only the beginning. And as I pressed post, my phone buzzed. A notification from Dylan. One word. Stop. My lips curled into a bitter smile. If he wanted me silent, he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. I didn't sleep that night. My video sat online like a confession I couldn't take back. Every few minutes, I refreshed, expecting nothing. Maybe 5 views. 10 if I was lucky. But by dawn, there were hundreds. Comments, too. Wait, these are the same lyrics from Dylan's album? She wrote them first? This feels so much more real than his version. My chest tightened, not with fear this time, but with a spark of hope. By noon, it was in the thousands. People stitched my video, comparing my raw recording with Dylan's polished album. Hashtags started popping up. Hat Crocker, Justice for Alara, original writer. For the first time since this nightmare began, people were listening to me. I wanted to cry, or scream, or both. But the fire wasn't just catching with fans. It was catching with Dylan, too. By evening, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a text. It was a voicemail. His voice slithered through the speaker. Alara, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're making a fool of yourself. Nobody cares about your little videos. Delete them. Now. Before you embarrass yourself further. But I heard it. That edge in his tone. Not confidence. Not control. Panic. And God, it tasted sweet. The next day, I doubled down. I posted another clip. Different lyrics, another stolen track. I held up the notebook I'd written them in. The date scrawled at the top months before Dylan ever stepped into a studio. Funny, I said to the camera, voice steady. How these words existed long before he claimed them. That video exploded. Tens of thousands of views in hours. Musicians duetted with me. Fans left comments like, Alara's version is the only version I'm streaming. But with the traction came backlash. Some diehard Dylan fans flooded my page, calling me a liar, a bitter ex, an attention seeker. They told me to give it up, that nobody would ever side with me over him. Their words cut deep. For a moment, the old doubt crept in. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was just screaming into the void. But then I remembered his voicemail, his panic. And I realized, if he was scared, I was winning. Still, fear lingered. Because if Dylan thought he was losing control of the story, he wasn't the type to sit back quietly. That night, as I uploaded another clip, a new notification flashed across my screen. Anonymous, no username, just one comment pinned to my video. Careful, Alara, you're playing with fire. I froze, my skin prickled cold. Because it wasn't Dylan's style. This felt like something darker. The comment haunted me. Careful, Alara, you're playing with fire. At first, I tried to shrug it off as some bitter Dylan fan hiding behind anonymity. But the words echoed louder than they should have. Like a whisper I couldn't escape. And then the world outside the screen started to match the warning. 2 nights later, I had a small gig at a bar on Frenchman Street. It wasn't glamorous, sticky floors, cheap beer, tourists wandering in and out. But it was mine, my chance to stand on a stage that wasn't stolen. When I walked in, people actually recognized me. Hey, aren't you that woman from TikTok? One girl asked, grinning. Her friend chimed in. Yeah, you're the one calling out Dylan Cross. The pride in their voices lit something inside me. For the first time in weeks, I felt seen. But as I tuned my guitar, I noticed him. A man in the corner, alone. Hoodie pulled low. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't watching the band before me. He was watching me. My chest tightened. Maybe paranoia, maybe not. When it was my turn, I stepped up to the mic, palms sweating. I played one of our songs, my song. Raw, stripped down, aching with the truth Dylan had tried to bury. The crowd swayed. Phones lit up, recording. A chant even started, Alara, Alara! But in the corner, the man never moved. His eyes, dark and steady, never left me. After the set, I slipped backstage, heart hammering. My phone buzzed. Another anonymous message. Stop singing his songs, or next time, it won't just be a warning. The blood drained from my face. I scanned the bar, but the man was gone, vanished like smoke. Leaning against the wall, I felt the weight of it all pressing down. This wasn't just Dylan's tantrum anymore. Someone else was invested in keeping me silent. But fear has a strange way of shaping into fury. I stared at the message one more time, then whispered to myself, "You want me to stop? Fine, I'll do the opposite." The next morning, I went live on TikTok again. My voice didn't shake this time. I've been told to stop, to be quiet, to disappear. But here's the thing, my silence was stolen once, and I'll never let it be stolen again. I strummed the opening chords, fire in my chest, and as thousands tuned in, I saw the comments flood. "We stand with you? Alara's the real one. Expose him." My story was spreading, but so was the danger, because the deeper I sang, the closer the fire came. By the end of that week, my phone felt like it was on fire. Every time I refreshed TikTok, the numbers climbed higher. Tens of thousands of views turned into hundreds of thousands. Duets, stitches, remixes of my songs, my words, were everywhere. I walked down Decatur Street and heard a group of teens playing one of my acoustic videos on a Bluetooth speaker. For the first time in months, I smiled without forcing it. But every smile was chased by a shadow. Because Dylan wasn't staying silent. The first shot came in an interview. Some glossy podcast invited him to talk about his creative process. And in front of thousands of listeners, he smirked and said, "Yeah, my ex is trying to ride my wave. She's bitter, always was. I wrote those songs, and she can't stand that I've moved on without her." My blood boiled as I listened. He was rewriting the story again, and part of me feared people would believe him. That night, I posted my sharpest strike yet. I sang our most personal song, the one I'd written about my father's death. The one Dylan hadn't even known until I sang it to him at 3 a.m., crying into a half-empty bottle of bourbon. I ended the video by holding up the page from my notebook. The date, the title, the tear stains. "Tell me again how these words were yours," I said to the camera, my voice low but steady. The internet erupted. Hashtags exploded. Music blogs picked it up. Suddenly, Dylan Cross plagiarism was trending. And that's when he came. I was leaving the bar after another set when a familiar voice called my name. "Alara." I froze. Dylan stood under the streetlight, guitar case slung over his shoulder, eyes burning. "You need to stop," he said. His voice wasn't playful now. It was raw, angry, desperate. I laughed bitterly. "Stop? You stole everything from me. My words, my heart, my life, and you want me to stop." He stepped closer. Too close. "You don't understand. This isn't just about us. You're ruining something bigger. You think these fans care about you? They'll move on. But me? I have backing. I have people. You can't win this fight." His words slithered under my skin. Backing. People. Who exactly was standing behind him? I swallowed hard, staring him down. "Then let them come. Because I'm not backing down. Not now. Not ever." For a moment, the mask slipped. I saw panic flicker in his eyes. He clenched his jaw, hissed through his teeth. "You're going to regret this, Alara." And then he disappeared into the night. I stood frozen under the streetlight, my guitar heavy in my hand, the echo of his words chasing me. Backing. People. This fight wasn't just about a stolen song anymore. It was about something bigger. And I had just stepped into the center of it. After Dylan disappeared into the night, his words echoed in me. I have backing. I have people. It played on repeat in my mind as I sat in my tiny apartment, guitar propped in the corner, TikTok notifications lighting up my phone like fireworks. The fans were with me, but if Dylan truly had a machine behind him, my little videos might not be enough. I had to know who was pulling his strings. So I started digging. The first trail was money. His sudden solo album hadn't been cheap. Studio time, producers, PR campaigns. Dylan used to complain about splitting gas money with me after gigs. Where did he suddenly get tens of thousands to launch a polished album? I scrolled through press releases, sponsorship announcements, even tagged photos from industry parties. And that's when I saw it. Dylan, arm in arm with Victor Langley. If you don't know the name, here's the short version. Victor was a New Orleans record executive who'd built a reputation for discovering raw talent. But everyone inside the scene knew the truth. He didn't discover talent, he bought it, and buried anyone in his way. Seeing Dylan next to him made my blood run cold. Victor Langley had resources, lawyers, media connections, money. And if Dylan was his new golden boy, then my TikTok crusade wasn't just embarrassing an ex-boyfriend. I was poking the hornet's nest of a man who controlled half the local industry. I wanted to slam my laptop shut and pretend I hadn't seen it, but I couldn't. Because the comments flooding my videos weren't just supportive anymore. Some accounts, too polished, too coordinated, started pushing back. She's just an ex looking for attention. Stop tearing down real artists. Alara is a fraud. Bots, paid trolls, Victor's fingerprints all over it. My chest tightened, but anger kept me upright. That night, I called an old friend, Maya, a sound engineer who used to work with us before Dylan pushed her out. She answered on the second ring. Alara, I've been following your stuff. It's blowing up. I swallowed hard. Maya, I need the truth. Do you know anything about Victor Langley backing Dylan? She was silent for a long moment. Then, Alara, don't mess with him. Victor doesn't just play dirty, he plays dangerous. I left because I saw what he did to artists who crossed him. Careers ruined, sometimes worse. Her warning sent a chill through me, but instead of backing down, I felt the fire burn hotter. If Victor thought he could erase me the way Dylan had tried, he had another thing coming. Because my voice wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone listening, everyone who'd ever been silenced. I hung up the call, opened TikTok again, and hit record. This isn't just about Dylan Cross. It's about the people backing him. The people who think they can buy silence. I'm not stopping until the truth is louder than their lies. My hands shook as I posted it. And 5 minutes later, a new anonymous message slid into my inbox. You've made enemies you don't understand. Stop now. Last warning. My blood ran cold. Because this time I knew it wasn't just Dylan texting me. It was Victor's shadow. Maya showed up at my apartment the next morning, a backpack slung over her shoulder, eyes sharp but weary. You look like hell, she said, dropping onto my couch. I smirked. I've been busy making enemies. She gave me a long look, then pulled a laptop from her bag. If you want to fight Victor Langley, you'll need more than TikToks. Her bluntness stung, but she was right. Victor was a giant, and I was just one voice screaming online. Maya opened a folder of files, contracts, emails, recordings. I've been keeping receipts. Every shady deal I saw while I worked with him. Artists whose names got erased. Songs bought for pennies and flipped into gold. Careers destroyed. I leaned forward, heart pounding. You kept all of this? Yeah, she said softly. Because one day I knew someone would be brave, or stupid, enough to take him on. Guess that someone's you. Her words lit a fire in me. For hours, we pored over the files. There it was, evidence that Victor had been propping up Dylan all along. Studio bills paid under shell companies. Marketing firms hired to flood social media with fake praise. Even hush money settlements to silence songwriters before me. Dylan wasn't a mastermind. He was just the latest puppet. The realization cut deep. All this time, I had thought I was at war with the man who broke my heart. But Dylan was just a pawn in Victor's game of power and money. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Because pawns can still draw blood. Maya sighed, rubbing her temples. We could take this public, leak everything. But Victor has lawyers. He'll spin it. He'll crush you. I shook my head. Not if I build an army first. And that's when I realized my TikTok wasn't just a platform. It was a stage, a rallying cry. If I could turn my personal story into a movement, Victor wouldn't just be fighting me. He'd be fighting thousands. That night, I recorded a new video, my face raw, my voice steady. This isn't just about stolen lyrics. It's about stolen voices. Every artist who's been silenced. Every story rewritten by men with money and power. If you've ever been erased, speak up. If you've ever been told to stay quiet, sing louder. Tag it with Frosthack Truth Over Tracks. Let's make them hear us. I hit post, heart racing. Within an hour, videos started popping up. A rapper in Houston, a folk singer in Nashville, a DJ in LA. All of them sharing their own stories of being silenced, tagging the hashtag. It was spreading faster than I imagined. But just as hope surged, Maya's phone buzzed. She went pale, handing it to me. A text, no name, no number. Stop now or you'll end up like the others. I stared at the screen, my stomach twisting. The others, I whispered. Maya's eyes darkened. Alara, you don't want to know. But I had to. Because the deeper I went, the clearer it became. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was survival. Maya didn't speak for a long time. She just sat there, staring at the glow of her laptop screen, jaw tight. Finally, I whispered, "What happened to the others?" Her eyes flicked up at me, heavy with something darker than fear. "There were 3 before you." The words sat in the air like smoke. The first was a songwriter named Janae. She wrote half the hooks you've been hearing on Victor's artists for years. She went public once, tried to file a lawsuit. Next thing anyone knew, she had vanished to Atlanta. No one's heard from her since. My stomach churned. The second was Marcus, a producer. He caught Victor ghost funding projects, paying off critics. He threatened to leak it. A week later, his studio burned down. Officially, it was an electrical fire. Unofficially, Maya trailed off. And the third, I pressed, though my throat tightened around the words. Her gaze hardened. The third was a girl like you, a singer. Talented, fearless. She tried to rally others, same way you're doing now. She ended up blacklisted, broke, and last I heard, working night shifts just to afford rent. The silence between us was suffocating. I gripped my knees, trying to steady my breath. This is what I've stepped into, I thought. This is the graveyard Victor has built for artists like me. For a flicker of a second, I considered stopping, shutting down my account, pretending none of this had happened. But then I thought about Dylan, his smug face on that album cover, my words pouring from his mouth like they were his own. And beyond him, I thought about every artist who had been chewed up and spit out. My fear began to harden into resolve. "I'm not stopping," I said quietly. Maya's eyes widened. "Alara!" "No, listen. They've buried enough people. If I back down now, I'll just be another name in their pile. But if I push forward, if I make enough noise, they won't be able to erase me." Maya studied me for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "Then we need to be smart, careful. If Victor knows you're not backing down, he won't play around anymore." That night, we stayed up piecing together the files, every shady deal, every buried contract, every erased credit. My living room floor was littered with papers, post-it notes, and empty coffee cups. At 3 a.m., Maya leaned back, rubbing her eyes. "We have enough here to ruin him, if it gets out." My chest tightened. "Then let's get it out." But even as I said it, I couldn't shake the feeling. Somewhere out there, Victor was already watching. And he knew exactly how to silence people like me. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A new notification. Not a message this time, a video from an anonymous account. It was grainy security footage. Of me, leaving the bar after my last set, walking alone into the night. My blood ran cold. Victor wasn't just watching online anymore. He was watching me. The video looped over and over on my phone. Grainy, time-stamped footage of me leaving the bar. My face half lit by a street lamp. Guitar case on my shoulder, completely unaware. I felt sick. This wasn't a troll. This wasn't Dylan's tantrum. This was Victor reaching through the screen and into my life. Maya grabbed my phone, eyes scanning the footage. "Alara, this is bad. They're not just watching your videos, they're tracking you." I pressed my palms to my temples, the room spinning. How? How do they even have footage like this? Maya's jaw tightened. Victor has friends everywhere, security companies, venues, even cops. He can pull CCTV like it's nothing. My stomach churned. He's already inside the places I feel safest. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The glow of the laptop, the mess of papers on the floor, all of it felt like evidence of a war I hadn't meant to start, but couldn't stop. Finally, Maya broke the silence. "We need to get you somewhere safe. Stop posting for a while. Go underground." The words stung. Underground, hiding, running. I stared at the screen, at my own frozen face walking into the night. If I disappear, I lose. He wins. Dylan wins. All of them win. Maya's voice softened. "And if you stay out here, you could get hurt. This isn't just music politics anymore." I thought about my followers, the kids stitching my videos, the artists hashtagging Talk Truth over tracks, the messages pouring in from people who'd been silenced. This wasn't just my fight anymore. "No," I said finally, my voice low but steady. "If Victor wants to scare me, he'll have to do more than send videos. We're going bigger." Maya's brow furrowed. "Bigger how?" I reached for my guitar, feeling its weight like a weapon. Live, public, no edits. If I can't hide, then I'll do the opposite. I'll make this so big he can't bury it. Her eyes widened. You're talking about performing live, in public? Yes, I said. A pop-up set. No venue, no permits. Just me, my songs, and a stream going out to everyone at once. He wants me quiet? I'll be louder than I've ever been. Maya hesitated. Alara, that's risky. If he knows where you are, I'll pick the time and place last minute. He won't have time to shut it down. And if he shows up, the whole world will be watching. Silence stretched between us again. Then Maya gave a slow, grim smile. All right, if you're going to war, we'll go to war smart. We spent the next hour planning a location, a backup plan, a secure stream. Maya reached out to trusted contacts, musicians, tech people, even a few sympathetic journalists. The beginnings of something bigger took shape on my living room floor. As dawn crept in through the blinds, my phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. You won't see me coming. I stared at it, my heart pounding. Then I locked the screen, took a deep breath, and whispered, Then watch me. Because if Victor wanted a spectacle, I was about to give him one he couldn't erase. The plan was reckless, insane even. But 2 nights later, I stood on a cracked street corner in the Bywater district. Guitar in hand, a cheap mic hooked into a portable speaker, and Maya crouched beside me with her laptop streaming live. Are you sure about this? She whispered. I took a shaky breath. No, but I'm doing it anyway. The first strum echoed into the night. A handful of people stopped, curious. Tourists with cameras, locals with beer cans. Then I began to sing. The lyrics Dylan had stolen, the words Victor had tried to bury, this time raw and alive, pouring straight into the humid New Orleans air. The crowd grew, phones lifted. The livestream counter shot upward, hundreds, then thousands tuning in. Comments scrolled by. She's incredible. This is the real writer. Truth over tracks forever. For the first time, I felt unstoppable. But that's when I saw them. 2 men in suits, too polished for this neighborhood. They lingered at the edge of the crowd, not clapping, not smiling, just watching. Maya's hand gripped my arm. Alara, those aren't fans. I kept singing, heart racing. If I stopped, fear would win. Then headlights cut through the night. A black SUV pulled up, tires screeching. The crowd murmured. Phones turned. The suits stepped forward, and for a moment, it felt like the air itself had gone still. One of them shouted, This performance is unauthorized. Shut it down. But the crowd answered for me. No, someone yelled. Then another, then the whole group chanting, clapping, drowning out the order. I strummed harder, my voice rising above the chaos. This song is mine. It always was. And they can't take it anymore. The live stream exploded, tens of thousands watching now. The suits tried to push through, but fans closed ranks, blocking them. For one breathtaking second, it felt like I had won. Then the SUV door opened, and Dylan stepped out. He looked furious, pale under the streetlight. Alara, enough, he shouted. His voice cracked with something between rage and fear. The crowd gasped, recognizing him instantly. Phones shot closer. I locked eyes with him, still strumming, my voice steady. Tell them, Dylan. Tell them whose words you stole. He froze, caught between the cameras and the truth. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. And then, the live stream cut out, screen black, connection lost. Maya's fingers flew across her keyboard. No, 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 they killed the feed. The crowd grew restless, shoving, shouting. Dylan's men surged forward. Hands grabbed at my mic, my guitar, my arm. In the chaos, I realized the truth. This wasn't just about silencing me online anymore. They wanted to silence me for good. The moment the live stream died, the crowd shifted from electricity to panic. Voices clashed, cheering, booing, shouting, hands pushed, phones dropped, bodies shoved against one another. The 2 suited men surged closer, their eyes locked on me like I was prey. Maya yanked my sleeve. We have to go, now. I clutched my guitar like a shield and shoved through the crowd. People tried to block the suits, yelling, Leave her alone. But I knew the tide could turn in a second. We slipped into a side alley, the air thick with the stench of trash and old beer. My chest heaved, adrenaline surging. Footsteps echoed behind us, heavy, fast. Run, Maya screamed. We bolted, sneakers pounding the cracked pavement, weaving through shadows. I could hear them gaining, 2 men, maybe more. We burst out onto Chartres Street, headlights flashing across us. A taxi idled at the corner, driver smoking lazily. Go, 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 Maya shouted as we dove inside. The driver blinked, startled, but hit the gas as the suits emerged from the alley, their faces twisted with fury as the cab sped away. Only when we turned 3 corners did I finally breathe again. My hands shook violently against my guitar case. Maya's face was pale. You saw it, didn't you? That wasn't Dylan's call. That was Victor. He just made his move. I swallowed hard, staring out the window at the blur of neon signs. He doesn't want to ruin me anymore. He wants to erase me. When we reached my apartment, I expected relief. Instead, my stomach dropped. My door was already open. I froze on the sidewalk. Maya whispered, "Oh God." Inside, chaos, drawers overturned, papers scattered, my notebooks ripped apart, pages shredded. My laptop smashed on the floor, and on the kitchen counter, a single note. Scrawled in red marker, "Silence is safer." The words made my skin crawl. Not typed, not printed, handwritten. Maya grabbed my arm. "Alara, this is no longer about music. This is survival." I should have been terrified. And I was. My entire body trembled. But under the fear, something sharper burned. They wanted to break me, to make me run. But I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I picked up the torn scraps of my lyrics, cradling them like broken glass. They can burn my things. They can cut my strings. But they'll never erase my voice. Maya looked at me like I was insane. So what now? I clenched the note in my fist until it crumpled. Now we stopped playing defense. The words on the note still burned in my mind. Silence is safer. For a long time, I just sat there in the wreckage of my apartment. Torn pages at my feet, broken glass glittering under the dim light. I could feel Maya's eyes on me, waiting for me to break. But instead, something inside me hardened. "They think fear will shut me up," I whispered. But fear is the only thing they've ever known how to use. Maya crouched in front of me, placing a hand on my shoulder. "So what's the plan?" Because running isn't an option, and neither is waiting for the next threat. I met her gaze. "We go on the offensive." Her brows shot up. "Alara, Victor's powerful. He has lawyers, PR firms, half the city in his pocket. And I have something he doesn't," I cut in. "The truth, and an audience." I picked up the shredded notebook pages, laying them carefully on the table like pieces of a puzzle. He tried to erase me, so I'll show the world exactly how he erases people. Maya's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. "I think I have just the thing." From her bag, she pulled a hard drive. Every shady contract, every silenced artist. I kept backups. Enough to build a case that Victor can't just laugh off. I stared at it, the weight of it heavy in my chest. Evidence of decades of abuse, all in one small device. "But we can't just dump it online," Maya said. "He'd spin it as fake. We need a hook, something that makes it undeniable. Something viral." My eyes fell to my guitar. "A song." Maya tilted her head. "You're thinking about turning evidence into art?" I nodded. "A track that samples the documents, the contracts, the audio clips, the voices of the erased artists. Layer it under my lyrics. Make it undeniable. Make it impossible to ignore." She blinked. "That's actually brilliant." That night, we worked like madwomen. Maya chopped audio clips, layering Victor's dirty deals into beats. I wrote verses sharper than knives. By dawn, we had something raw, jagged, and undeniable. We called it Buried Voices. When we posted the snippet, it spread like wildfire. Not just fans, journalists, other musicians, even activists picked it up. The comments lit up. "Holy hell, this is explosive. Is that Victor Langley's voice on tape?" Buried Voices is the anthem now. By the end of the day, Buried Voices wasn't just a song, it was a movement. But as the numbers skyrocketed, a new message appeared in my inbox. Short, sharp. "You've crossed the line. Next time, it's not just your apartment." I stared at the screen, pulse hammering. They were done playing, and so was I. By the time Buried Voices hit its 3rd day online, it wasn't just viral, it was everywhere. Clips played on Instagram stories, remixed versions spun in clubs. Journalists debated its impact on morning radio. For the first time in years, my name was louder than Dylan's. But louder also meant more exposed. Maya and I had holed up in a borrowed rehearsal studio. She tapped at her laptop while I strummed, trying to polish a live set. "You know what this means, right?" Maya said, eyes flicking up. I raised an eyebrow. That Victor's lawyers are sharpening their knives. She smirked. That too, but also that you've got momentum. People want to see you now, not just clips. A real performance. Her words lit a fire, a chance to turn this movement into something undeniable. But under the fire, there was fear, because every stage was a target. Still, I said, then let's give them a show. We planned a showcase, small venue, low-key, but live-streamed worldwide. Maya lined up allies, musicians willing to back me, journalists who promised coverage. For the first time, it felt like I wasn't alone. But Victor wasn't going to let me have the night. The venue was packed, shoulder to shoulder, the air buzzing with anticipation. As the live stream started, comments flooded in. Alara, we love you. Buried Voices Anthem of the Year. Expose him. I stepped to the mic, heart pounding. My guitar hummed in my hands. Tonight, I told the crowd, isn't about me. It's about every voice they tried to bury, and we're not staying buried anymore. The room erupted. The first song soared, then the second. My voice cracked with rawness, but it didn't matter. The energy was electric. People sang with me, chanted, held their phones high. For a moment, I felt invincible. And then the lights cut out. Total blackout. Gasps rippled through the room. The livestream chat exploded with "What happened?" Maya's voice cut through the dark. Alara, this isn't an accident. Before I could answer, the sound system shrieked. A distorted crackle, then silence. My mic was dead. Then a voice boomed through the speakers, low and venomous. Silence is safer. The crowd froze. My blood ran ice cold. People looked around, confused, scared. Some backed toward the exit. Maya scrambled to reboot the system, her hands flying. They've hacked the feed. Alara, this is Victor. He's hijacking your show. I stood there in the dark, my guitar heavy against me, my chant slipping away. But I knew this was it, my line in the sand. I gripped the strings, strummed hard, raw, unplugged, my voice rising into the blackout. They can cut the lights, they can cut the sound, but they'll never cut the truth. The crowd roared back, clapping, stomping, turning chaos into rhythm. Phones lit the room with white glow, like fireflies in the dark. For a moment, we drowned Victor out with nothing but our voices. But backstage, shadows moved. I caught a glimpse of suited figures forcing their way in. Maya hissed in my ear. They're here, Alara. We need to move, now. The room shook with chaos. Shouts, footsteps, the thud of bodies pushing against one another. Maya's hand clamped onto my wrist, pulling me off stage. Move, Alara. We ducked behind the curtains just as two suited men stormed the platform. The crowd roared, some trying to film, others scattering in fear. Backstage was worse. Cables yanked out, lights sparking, tech crew shoved aside. Maya dragged me through the service door, out into a narrow alley that reeked of oil and rain. Keep running, she panted. We sprinted into the night, sneakers slapping against wet pavement. Behind us, I heard one of the men bark into a radio. She's moving east. Cut her off. Adrenaline blazed through me. My chest heaved. But I didn't stop until we slipped into the shadows of a nearby warehouse. We collapsed against a wall, gasping. My hands shook so hard I nearly dropped my guitar. Maya leaned over, her laptop bag clutched tight. That was Victor's message. He's not hiding anymore. He wanted the world to see his reach. I pressed my back to the wall, rage burning hotter than fear. Good, because the world was watching. Maya's eyes flicked open wide. She fumbled with her laptop, pulling it out despite her shaking hands. Alara, the live stream, when they cut it, my backup server kept rolling. I've got everything. She spun the screen toward me. There it was, the blackout, the hijacked message. Silence is safer. The suits storming the stage, the chaos. All captured, all time-stamped, all undeniable. My breath caught. Maya, this is it. This is proof. She nodded, her voice trembling. If we drop this, it won't just expose Dylan. It'll show Victor's whole hand, his intimidation, his control, everything. For a moment, I saw victory flicker on the horizon. My revenge wasn't just about stolen lyrics anymore. It was about exposing an empire built on fear. But then I noticed something in the footage, a frame, almost lost in the static. A man in the corner, phone pressed to his ear, smirking as chaos unfolded. Dylan. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't caught off guard. He was enjoying it. My stomach twisted. He hadn't just been Victor's pawn. He'd been complicit, from the start. The betrayal cut deeper all over again. Maya looked at me, eyes fierce. So what now? Do we leak it all? I stared at Dylan's frozen face on the screen. That smirk branded into my skull. No, I said slowly, not yet. If we play everything now, they'll bury it in lawsuits, spin it as fake. We need to hit harder, make it so big they can't recover. Maya exhaled. Then we plan our strike. I clenched my fists, my voice steady. No more warnings, no more running. The next move is mine. But deep down, I knew the truth. The closer I got to victory, the closer I was to danger. And Victor wasn't finished coming for me. The video played again on Maya's laptop, Dylan's smirk in the shadows, the words echoing through the hacked speakers. Silence is safer. It was proof strong enough to shake Victor's empire. But proof wasn't enough. Not in Victor's world. Not when he had lawyers, money, and half the city in his pocket. We needed spectacle, something bigger than paperwork, bigger than whispers, something the world couldn't ignore. Maya leaned forward, her voice low. So what's the endgame, Alara? How do you want to finish this? I stared at the grainy frame of Dylan, the man I'd once trusted with my heart and my music. My jaw clenched. We don't just expose them. We destroy the myth. Live where no one can spin it. Maya's lips curved. You're talking about DemoFest, aren't you? My chest tightened. DemoFest, New Orleans' annual showcase, where bands fought for industry eyes, labels, streaming deals. The same stage Dylan and I had once dreamed of conquering together. Now it would be the battlefield. Yeah, I whispered. Victor owns half the sponsors. Dylan's set to headline. If I hijack that stage with our evidence, our song, they'll have nowhere to hide. Maya's eyes flickered with both admiration and fear. That's bold and dangerous. They'll expect you. They'll be waiting. I know, I said. That's why we need allies. Not just me, not just us. Other artists Victor's silenced. Journalists who want blood. Fans who will flood the streets. Maya's fingers tapped the laptop. If we build this right, it won't just be a performance. It'll be an uprising. A spark ignited inside me. For months I'd been reacting, running, defending. Now for the first time, I was planning the strike. That night, calls were made, messages sent, quiet invitations to artists who'd been buried, voices smothered under Victor's contracts. Some were hesitant, some terrified. But a few said yes, enough to matter. Meanwhile, Maya leaked just enough to stir the fire, a 30-second teaser of buried voices, spliced with flashes of Victor's contracts, just enough to make people hungry. Within hours, hashtags trended. Burn the stage, truth over tracks, Alara live. The city buzzed, journalists called, fans speculated. The countdown to DemoFest had begun, and the whispers grew into a roar. But with the buzz came the shadows. I caught men watching me on the street, black cars idling too long near my building. Anonymous texts. We know what you're planning. Don't show up. Last warning. The fear clawed at me, but I forced myself to breathe through it. Because this time, I wasn't walking into Victor's fire as prey. I was carrying the match. Let them watch, I told Maya, my voice steady. Because when the stage lights hit, I won't be the one burning. The city buzzed like a live wire. DemoFest banners draped across French Quarter balconies. Music spilled out of every bar, every courtyard. Crowds swarmed the streets, chasing the next big act. But this year, it wasn't just about the music. It was about me. Burn the Stage trended worldwide. Posters with my face, drawn, painted, photoshopped, popped up on walls, poles, even shirts. People weren't just coming for Dylan. They were coming to see if I'd dare. Maya and I arrived hours early, slipping in through the back of the venue. Her laptop bag clung to her side like a lifeline. You sure about this? She asked, eyes darting. I adjusted the strap of my guitar. If I'm not sure now, I'll never be. Inside, the atmosphere was electric. Journalists huddled with cameras, fans held handmade signs, and backstage buzzed with musicians tuning instruments. But the closer I got to the stage, the heavier the air felt. Like the walls themselves knew something was about to break. Dylan's band sound-checked, his voice smug over the mic. He looked untouchable, for now. Then I saw him, Victor, standing near the sponsor banners, shaking hands with city officials, smiling like a king surveying his empire. Our eyes met for a split second. His smile didn't waver, but his eyes, cold, sharp, said everything. You won't make it to the stage. I forced myself to look away, but my stomach twisted. Maya nudged me, whispering, "We've got allies in place. Journalists ready to stream. If anything happens, they'll catch it." I nodded, clinging to her words. But fate struck sooner than expected. As I headed toward the green room, 2 men in black stepped into the hallway. 2 clean-cut to be crew. One of them blocked my path, the other lingered by the exit. "Private area," the first one said flatly. "No access." "I'm performing," I snapped. "Check the schedule." He leaned closer, his voice low. "Not anymore." My pulse spiked. Maya tightened her grip on her laptop strap, eyes wide. Before I could react, a hand clamped down on my arm. Hard. "Security orders," the second man muttered, trying to steer me back toward the door. I wrenched free, adrenaline kicking in. "You're not security." Shouts rang out behind me. Fans pressing against the barricades had seen. Phones lifted. People yelled my name. The men froze, realizing too late that they weren't invisible anymore. I turned, raising my voice so the crowd could hear. "They're trying to keep me off the stage." The fans erupted. Boos, chants, fists in the air. "Let her play! Let her play!" Cameras flashed. Journalists shoved mics forward. The men backed off, muttering into earpieces before slipping into the shadows. Victor's eyes cut across the venue like a blade. For the first time, I saw a crack in his calm. Maya leaned close, her voice trembling but fierce. "He's losing control. This is our moment." I gripped my guitar tighter. I was going to walk on that stage, no matter what. The roar of the crowd shook the ground. DemoFest's main stage blazed with lights, banners, and cameras. Dylan's set was supposed to headline, but now the audience was chanting my name. "Alara! Alara! Alara!" I stood just off stage, guitar in hand. Maya at my side with her laptop ready to stream from multiple backup channels. My heart pounded like a drumline, but I refused to let fear show. "Are you ready for this?" Maya whispered. I exhaled slowly. "No, but I'll never be readier." The MC tried to regain control, his voice echoing over the mic. "Up next, the one and only Dylan Cross." Boos erupted. The crowd shouted over him, "Let her play! Let her play!" Victor, standing in the VIP box, stiffened. His smile was gone now, his jaw tight. For once, he wasn't in control. Maya gave me a sharp nod. "Go." I walked onto the stage. The chants swelled until they were deafening. Phones shot up, live streams ignited. Hashtags exploded in real time. Dylan stormed from the opposite side, fury written all over his face. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he hissed, trying to block me. I leaned close, voice steady. "Taking back what's mine." The mic squealed as I stepped forward. This song, my voice echoed through the festival grounds, was stolen. My words, my voice, buried under lies. Tonight, you'll hear the truth. The first chord rang out, raw and loud. Maya triggered the visuals, contracts, leaked audio, Victor's threats, all synced behind me on the giant screen. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Journalists scrambled, cameras zoomed. Fans screamed. Dylan lunged toward me, grabbing my wrist. "Turn it off, now!" I yanked free, strumming harder. No more silence. The beat kicked in. Maya had mixed buried voices into a live track. My voice cut sharp through the night. "They bury us deep, but we rise. They steal our song, but we survive." The crowd erupted, chanting the chorus with me. For the first time, it wasn't just my fight, it was ours. And then, chaos. The big screen flickered. The visuals distorted. Suddenly, Victor's face appeared, live, sneering. "You think this makes you strong? You're playing with fire, Alara, and fire burns." The crowd gasped. Some booed, others filmed frantically. Maya cursed under her breath, typing furiously. "He's hijacking the feed again, trying to kill the proof." But before Victor could finish his threat, another window overlaid the screen, an anonymous leak. Video files, audio clips, contracts. All of it pouring out in real time to the entire audience. Maya's eyes widened. Someone else, someone on the inside is helping us. The crowd went berserk. Chants, cheers, chaos. Victor's face twisted in rage as his empire unraveled live. Dylan shouted into the mic, desperate. "She's lying, it's all fake!" But no one listened, because for the first time, the truth was louder than the lie. I strummed the final chord, voice steady despite the storm. "We're done being buried." The festival grounds shook with the roar of thousands. But deep down, I knew the war wasn't over, because Victor wasn't going to go quietly. The stage still rang with chants long after my final chord. Fans pressed forward, chanting, "Alara, Alara!" Journalists swarmed the barricades, shouting questions. Phones streamed every second. The truth wasn't underground anymore. It was out in the open, burning under the lights of DemoFest. But behind the curtains, chaos brewed. Victor stormed through the backstage corridor, his face red, barking into his phone. Dylan trailed after him, pale, sweating, muttering excuses. "They'll spin it," Victor hissed. "We'll bury her in lawsuits, we'll discredit the files." But his words were swallowed by the crowd's roar. The chant outside grew louder, drowning him out. For once, his empire of fear couldn't silence anyone. Maya grabbed my arm, eyes glowing. "Alara, do you get it? You did it. You broke him." But I shook my head. "No, not yet. He's not finished. Not until we know who dropped the files." Because someone had helped me, someone with access to Victor's vault. That night, after the chaos thinned, I sat in Maya's apartment scrolling through messages. Most were support, fans, artists, activists. But one stood out. A private DM from an anonymous account. No name, no face, just a single line. "You're not alone. Meet me at the pier, midnight." Maya frowned when I showed her. "It could be a trap. Or it could be the only person who can finish this," I said quietly. The Mississippi River shimmered under the moonlight when I got there. The air smelled of salt and metal. And then footsteps. A figure emerged from the shadows. Hoodie, hands buried in pockets. My chest tightened. They lowered the hood. It was Clara, Victor's own former assistant. The woman I'd seen countless times at Dylan's side, clipboard in hand, head down like she didn't exist. "Alara," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I've been waiting for someone brave enough to fight him." My breath caught. "It was you. You leaked the files." She nodded, eyes wet. "I kept everything. Every contract he forged. Every threat he made. Every artist he crushed. I was scared for years, but when I saw you fight, I couldn't stay silent anymore." I stared at her, torn between relief and suspicion. "Why me? Why now?" "Because," she said, voice breaking. "I know what he does to women who get in his way. I didn't want to be next, and I didn't want you to end up like the others." My heart pounded. The pieces clicked into place. The missing weapon in my arsenal, proof from inside Victor's machine. Clara pressed a flash drive into my palm. "Everything's on there, enough to burn him down completely." But before I could respond, headlights cut across the pier. A black SUV rolled to a stop. Doors opened, men stepped out. Clara's face drained of color. He knows I betrayed him. My blood turned cold. Victor hadn't lost yet. And now, he was coming for both of us. The SUV doors slammed shut. 4 men stepped out, suits crisp, eyes cold. Their polished shoes crunched against the wet pier, each step echoing like a countdown. Clara's breath hitched. She whispered, "He sent his enforcers. He'll kill me for betraying him." I clutched the flash drive in my fist, feeling its edges bite into my palm. It wasn't just data. It was the final bullet that could end Victor. One of the men called out, his voice flat and chilling. "Hand it over, ladies. Walk away, and maybe you get to breathe tomorrow." My chest burned with fear. But behind the fear was fire. For months, they'd tried to silence me, tried to bury me. Tonight, I was done running. Clara tugged at my arm. "Alara, we have to run." But headlights flashed again. Tires screeched. Another car barreled into the pier from the opposite side. For a moment, I thought it was more of Victor's men. But when the door swung open, Maya jumped out, laptop in one hand, phone in the other, her face fierce. "Not tonight," she shouted. She wasn't alone. Behind her, 3 other musicians I'd reached out to stepped from the car. Faces I recognized from the old contracts. Artists Victor had once crushed. The men froze, just long enough for Clara to shove me. "Go, get out of here with the drive." But I didn't move. I stepped forward, voice steady though my knees trembled. "Victor doesn't own us anymore. And if you lay a hand on me tonight, the world will know before the sun rises." The lead man sneered. "You really think your fans can save you?" Maya lifted her phone, live stream already rolling. The red dot blinked. Thousands were watching. The crowd in the comments exploded instantly. "What's happening?" "They're threatening her on the pier." "Stay strong, Alara." The suits hesitated. For the first time, the cameras were pointed at them. I raised the flash drive high. "This holds every dirty secret Victor ever tried to bury. You want it? Come take it. In front of the world." Tension crackled like lightning. One of the men stepped forward, fists clenched. But suddenly Clara shouted, "Wait!" She moved between us, her voice breaking. "If you want someone, take me. I worked for him. I betrayed him. Alara doesn't have to pay for that." "No," I grabbed her arm, my heart pounding. "We don't sacrifice ourselves for him anymore. That's what he wants." The men exchanged glances, uncertain under the watchful glare of the live stream. Finally, the lead one cursed, jerking his chin toward the SUV. "This isn't over." They climbed back in, tires screeching as they sped away into the night. Silence fell, broken only by the hum of the river. My chest heaved, adrenaline shaking every bone. Clara collapsed into sobs. Maya gripped my shoulder. "You realize what just happened? You stood up to Victor, live, and people saw." I held up the flash drive, my hand trembling but unbroken. "No more running," I whispered. "The final strike begins now." The flash drive burned in my palm like it was alive. Clara sat trembling on the edge of Maya's couch, her face pale but determined. Maya typed furiously, screens glowing with file after file. Every contract, every threat, every recording. It was all there. "This isn't just a case," Maya muttered. "It's an arsenal." Clara nodded weakly. "Victor thinks he owns the narrative, but if we drop this right, he won't even have time to spin it." I tightened my grip on the guitar slung across my shoulder. "We don't just drop it. We turn it into the final performance. A strike they'll never erase." Maya looked up. "You're thinking live again, aren't you?" "Yes," I said. "Bigger than Demo Fest. Bigger than anything. Global stream. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Everywhere at once. A song they can't mute, backed by every piece of evidence Clara gave us." Her lips curved. "If this works, it's not just the end of Victor. It'll be a revolution." But Clara's voice cut in, sharp. "You don't understand. Victor won't wait. The second he realizes I gave you that drive, he'll come for me. And you." I met her gaze steady. "Then we do it now, tonight." The plan was madness. We knew it. But the clock was ticking. We set up in the same borrowed studio, walls lined with cables and battered amps. Maya coded like lightning, building a stream with redundancies Victor couldn't touch. Clara printed copies of the contracts, scattering them across the floor like war banners. And I tuned my guitar, fingers trembling, heart steady. Then, knock at the door. Maya froze, Clara's face drained. Slowly, I opened it, and there he was. Dylan, his hair a mess, eyes bloodshot, desperation dripping from every pore. He looked nothing like the man who'd once stolen my songs and strutted under the lights. "Alara," he rasped, "please, you don't understand." I stared at him, my voice cold. "You're the reason I'm here. You're the reason Victor almost won." He shook his head wildly. "No, you don't get it. He used me too. He promised me the world if I betrayed you. And now he's cutting me out. He's going to bury me next." Clara flinched. "That's what he does. That's what he always does." Dylan's voice cracked. "Please, Alara, let me help. I still have access to one of his servers. I can open it for you. Just don't shut me out." The room went silent. Maya's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Clara's breath came sharp and quick. And me, I stood there, torn. This was the man who'd gutted me, stolen my voice, paraded my lyrics as his own. And now he was begging to join the fight against the monster he once served. Part of me wanted to slam the door. Part of me wanted to let him in. Because if he was telling the truth, he could hand me the key to Victor's downfall. But if he was lying, he could destroy everything. I looked at Dylan, the weight of the flash drive heavy in my hand. This was the moment of choice. The room pulsed with tension. Dylan's voice cracked as he begged. "Alara, please. You need me." Maya's eyes locked on mine. Clara's fingers twisted nervously in her lap. The weight of choice sat heavy in my chest. For a long moment, I stared at Dylan, the man who had stolen my words, my trust, my heart. The man who had built his fame on my silence. Then I shook my head. "No, Dylan, I don't need you anymore." His face collapsed, desperation curdling into rage. "If you do this without me, Victor will bury you alive." I stepped forward, my voice steady. He tried, over and over. "But you know what, Dylan? You can't bury someone who already learned how to rise." Maya hit a key on her laptop. The global stream went live. Suddenly, our faces filled screens across the world. My guitar strummed the first chord. Clara's files unspooled in rhythm with my voice. The contracts, the threats. Victor's empire, bleeding out in real time. This, I told the camera, is the song they tried to erase, and the proof of the voices they silenced. Tonight, no more silence. The song exploded out of the speakers. Buried voices in its final form, layered with evidence, with testimony, with Clara's data flashing behind me. The livestream counter rocketed. Tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions. Maya whispered, "They can't stop it now." Dylan lunged for the laptop. "Stop! You don't understand what he'll do." But Clara stepped in front of him, her voice fierce. "No, Dylan, we understand perfectly, and we're done." The chat scrolled like fire. "This is history. Victor's finished." "Alara, we hear you." Across the city, people flooded the streets. Fans chanted, journalists broadcast live. Within an hour, Victor Langley's name was trending worldwide for corruption, abuse, intimidation. His empire cracked, his silence shattered. And me, I stood in the center of it all, guitar in hand, tears streaming down my face, not from fear, but from release. For the first time, my voice wasn't stolen. It was mine, ours. As the final chord rang out, I looked into the camera. To anyone who's ever been silenced, this is for you. Rise, because we are done being buried. The screen faded to black, the chant of millions echoing in the night. Victor was finished. Dylan was forgotten. And Alara's voice became the anthem of the unburied.